Jimmy Kimmel's a loser. I do Jimmy Kimmel. I did him a lot.
Yeah.
And he'd be standing on the sidewalk. Oh, sir, may I bring you in? He'd bring me in every time. The whole show is talking bad about Trump.
He called us doofuses when we had you on.
He's a group of doofuses in flat-brimmed hats.
Guess what? We did
Ask him how many.
what he did.
Ask him. Yeah, you do bigger. Yeah, you do.
He's had a real problem with Elon from the beginning of this thing, but it's like he's in this leftist thought bubble. He is in the most leftist thought bubble available, which is Hollywood. And, and I think also, he famously, there's some videos of him in blackface, and those came out, and he had apologized for them, and I think he took that hit and, really doubled down the other.
Jimmy Kimmel $500 million call lawsuit face karnapad raha hai. Jiz mein Trump kan ambi shamil hai, or Joe Rogan or Megyn Kelly is parko karbal rehi hain. Rogan ni Kimmel ka mazik banad hu you say k failed stand-up act ka punchline. Kedia. Why Megyn Kelly Niuski Hollywood-style self-importance co-calmly or sharply dismantle cardia? Smug monologues say la car legal panic tack. Isab kachi k public mockery ban chuka high. Ye serve criticism nahi, ek powerful takedown high. Or ab Kimmel ka downfall bangay a high late night TV ka sab's crazy headline.
I struggle to even mention that guy's name. He's such an absolute prick. I can't stand him. But anyway, it's just my thought bubble out loud. We took a look at some of their reactions to the news of Trump's win. Look at this.
Hey there. How are you doing? If you watch the show regularly, I'm guessing you're not doing great. Yeah, me neither.
Let's be honest, it was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go, for healthcare, for our climate. It was a terrible night for poor people, for our allies in Ukraine, for NATO.
You know how much it costs to produce Jimmy Kimmel's show? I guarantee you it's tens and tens of millions. It could be as much as 100 million. I have no idea. You know how much Tucker's video cost? Nothing. You know how much Jimmy Kimmel, how many people he gets tuning in on an average night? Just last week, his average was, in the overall, meaning all viewers, 1.5 million. In the key demo, 236,000. Tucker would have been embarrassed to pull that out.
Joe Rogan couldn't believe what he was seeing. News just broke that President Trump had officially filed a staggering $500 million lawsuit against late-night host Jimmy Kimmel. Not a warning, not a simple cease and desist, but a full-blown legal strike. And Joe? He was already chuckling before even taking a breath. Meanwhile, clips of Kimmel reacting to past election results resurfaced, where he appeared visibly upset, calling it a terrible night for nearly everyone: women, children, immigrants, healthcare, climate, and even NATO. The dramatic tone didn't go unnoticed. Megyn Kelly joined in, raising questions about how much Kimmel's show costs to produce, likely tens of millions, while drawing just 1.5 million viewers overall and under 250,000 in the key demographic. In contrast, independent creators like Tucker Carlson or even podcasters like Rogan pull huge numbers. With a fraction of the budget, the comparison stung. Joe and Megyn both saw the irony. A traditional media giant now facing not just a lawsuit, but a reality check and maybe even a ratings cliff.
Chance in hell that this is funny or gonna work. And when you see those flat, corny, late-night monologue jokes with no audience, Colbert, there's Jimmy Kimmel, there's Fallon. What they're doing is just like reading off of a teleprompter. So a bunch of really good joke writers wrote them some stuff, and then they're playing to the audience, and the audience is like laughing, so they get this feedback, and they know how to do that. They stand there, and there's applause signs. And then there's producers. There's the warm-up guy that's literally telling people to clap. They're like, okay, explaining to the people, okay, when Jimmy comes out, I want a big round.
Did you know who's set to host the next Academy Awards? Jimmy Kimmel. And now, that same Jimmy is at the center of major backlash, not for his jokes this time, but for past controversies resurfacing, including some very questionable old skits. Critics on both sides of the aisle are pointing fingers. But what's surprising is how certain things get a pass depending on who says them. The internet doesn't forget, and neither, apparently, does President Trump, who recently filed a stunning $500 million lawsuit against Kimmel. Joe Rogan, reacting to the news, compared it to a house. cat standing in front of a freight train, bold, reckless, and bound to get flattened. Joe joked that Kimmel must have confused nightly monologues with legal immunity, thinking that just because it's said behind a desk, the system won't take notice. But this isn't just a feud, it's a showdown between the world of legacy media and those who've had enough of double standards and protected punchlines. And this time, the laughs might come with a legal bill.
You know who's going to be hosting the Academy Awards this year? Jimmy Kimmel. Do you know who's worn blackface repeatedly and spoken inner city sort of urban accent saying she needs to darn those socks? Jimmy Kimmel as Oprah, as a fat-suited, black-faced, darning socks Oprah. Now, if you are of the left, that's fine. If you are of the right and happen to just say, hey, people used to wear blackface and nobody freaked out about it.
Back in 2018, a debate stirred after I mentioned how people once wore dark makeup to imitate well-known black celebrities, and at the time, it didn't raise as many eyebrows as it does now. Fast forward, and it turns out the same audience is horrified by that comment. Absolutely praised Jimmy Kimmel for performances that included multiple blackface costumes, like his recurring impersonation of a famous basketball star. Joe Rogan didn't hold back. He mocked Kimmel's self-important on-air persona, saying, "Watching Jimmy tell political jokes is like watching a chihuahua bark orders at a SWAT team. Loud, relentless, but never taken seriously. And now, that bark might cost him." Joe then took aim at Kimmel's entire comedy approach, calling it the kind of humor that gets polite laughs from nervous interns, just enough to keep the room from getting awkward. In Rogan's view, it's not edgy, it's not original, it's the comedic version of warm milk. Comforting, maybe, but it puts real satire to sleep.
Horrified after yours truly said in 2018 that people used to don dark makeup in order to imitate well-known black celebrities and it wasn't a big deal. Absolutely ate up the performance by Hollywood darling Mr. Kimmel, whose blackface costumes included his oft-repeated bit as basketball star.
Joe Rogan leaned into the conversation and made it clear the real punchline wasn't Jimmy Kimmel's show, but the idea that Kimmel still sees himself as the cool kid of late-night television. Rogan said, "You're not the rebel anymore, you're a network fixture, propped up by a laugh track and Hollywood handshakes." According to Rogan, the edgy, unpredictable version of Kimmel vanished years ago, and what's left is someone who tosses nightly jabs at big figures, like Trump, only now one of those jabs might cost him dearly, comparing it to throwing a pebble at a freight train and then bragging about leaving a dent. Rogan couldn't help but laugh at the irony. "Sure, it got a reaction," he said, "but now that train is suing you for $500 million. He joked about Jimmy scrambling to call his lawyers while deleting old clips off the internet, like a student cleaning a chalkboard before the principal walks in. Rogan took it further, saying the lawsuit isn't just about money, it's about pressure. In his words, Trump didn't just want to win in court, he wanted to live rent-free in Jimmy's head to make him second-guess punchlines, rethink casual interviews, and maybe even flinch at the word defamation during coffee runs. And the biggest irony, Rogan pointed out that Kimmel, a guy who made his name poking fun at celebrities, now seems shocked when someone punches back. According to Joe, Kimmel's Trump jokes were never especially clever. They were shallow, recycled shots, the kind of material you might scroll past on a small satire account online. Yet somewhere along the way, Jimmy started believing he was leading a comedic revolution. Rogan summed it up with one final jab. "You're not Jon Stewart, honestly. Even Jon Stewart would have told you to freshen up your act years ago."
Tucker's numbers were 3 times what Jimmy Kimmel gets. And Tucker's little basement video that he did from clearly like his cabin that he broadcasts out of Maine in literally has 21 million views. Okay, 21 million views. Whereas, as I point out, on ABC, a massive network that comes into your home for free, that you have to make no effort to find, at best, Jimmy Kimmel can get 1.5 million. He needs to have a little self-perspective before going out there and hurling these insults because...
As Joe wrapped up his takedown, he noted that the lawsuit might be the most buzzworthy thing to hit Jimmy Kimmel live in recent memory. At least now, he joked, people were Googling Jimmy for something other than reruns or promo interviews for movies nobody remembered. Meanwhile, across town, Megyn Kelly entered the conversation, not with laughs, but with the cool confidence of someone who had seen this act play out before. She didn't view the Trump versus Kimmel lawsuit as scandalous to her. It was inevitable, the moment when a late-night entertainer finally crossed the line, and the person on the receiving end decided to push back, legally and publicly. Megyn described Kimmel as someone who confused Hollywood applause with public influence. She argued that delivering pre-written jokes in front of a clapping studio audience didn't make him a political voice, it made him a performer following a script. According to her, Kimmel mistook his monologues for meaningful activism when, in fact, they were often just mild satire packaged safely for television. And as for the edge that late-night comedy used to have, Megyn said the only thing risky about Jimmy's show nowadays was a chance someone might fall asleep before the punchline.
The problem with that kind of stuff is it continues to go in the same direction where more and more things become forbidden and toxic, to the point where, you know, the Elon Musk joking around about my pronouns are prosecute Fauci. Jimmy Kimmel made a tweet back to him. He said, your pronouns are ass and hole, which is pretty funny. But then
Did he really?
Yes. And so then I read that, and there was people saying, please don't joke about pronouns. It's transphobic to joke about pronouns. So they were chiding him.
Megyn Kelly took a sharp, no-nonsense approach in her critique of Jimmy Kimmel, pointing out that the comedian who once pushed boundaries during the Man Show era has since transformed into a version far removed from that edge. Today's Kimmel, she argued, plays it safe, polished, corporate approved, and constantly projecting outrage that feels more like a performance than genuine conviction. She compared him to the high school rebel who became a hall monitor. Surprised no one respects the badge. The heart of her criticism, though, was Kimmel's repeated jabs at President Trump, delivered with the kind of confidence that assumes no consequences. Megyn noted that mocking a public figure is one thing, doing it nightly while forgetting that person as legal firepower is another. She called the lawsuit karmic comedy, a moment when provocation met accountability. This wasn't a free speech debate, she argued. It was about understanding the line between satire and personal attacks. And when the stakes rise, you can't play the victim while still aiming to be provocative. With a wry tone, she imagined Kimmel's writers scrambling to adjust future scripts, now focused more on legal safety than edgy humor, a creative retreat disguised as bold commentary.
Weak and pathetic is a guy like that. The Tonight Show, which is dying. They're all dying. Where's Johnny Carson? Bring back Johnny. It made you appreciate, right, Uncle Sam? It made you appreciate the greatness of Johnny Carson. I go on a show, and he goes, is that your real hair? I said, yeah. He said, do you mind if I mess it up? So he grabs it, and he starts really going crazy, right? And everybody laughed, and it was a big thing, and it was a big hit. It was all over the place, and he got great ratings and all. And 6 months later, he went out because he was under pressure to apologize because he humanized.
Megyn Kelly wasn't finished. She emphasized that the lawsuit shattered the illusion that late-night hosts like Jimmy Kimmel operate within a protective comedy bubble. For years, Kimmel has thrived on anti-Trump material, presenting himself as a bold voice for the public. But Megyn pointed out, when your platform is made of glass, it's probably not wise to hurl stones at a sitting president. She shifted focus to Hollywood's echo chamber, calling Kimmel more than just a talk show host. He's part of a polished, self-congratulatory media machine that believes critiques should only flow one way. When Trump fires back suddenly, it's labeled tyranny, but when Kimmel goes after Trump night after night, it's framed as brave comedy. Megyn rolled her eyes, clearly tired of the double standard, and even quipped that the lawsuit might be the best thing to happen to Jimmy in a while. After all, it's the only reason people are talking about him again. His ratings needed a jolt, and this legal slap might just bring it. She painted a vivid picture. Kimmel, sitting under dim lights, dramatically reading the lawsuit as if it were a movie script. Sweat on his brow as it hits him. This isn't satire. It's reality, and it's $500 million worth of serious. Megyn joked that he may need to start selling his branded desk mugs, those staged tears, and maybe even a few celebrity contacts just to keep the lights on.
Last night was the 96th Academy Awards show, and while you might have missed it, there was one clear winner. No, not Oppenheimer, It was sanctimonious leftists for their lead role in pretending they are better than you. Several people shared in this achievement. Winner number 1, Jimmy Kimmel. For the 4th time, Kimmel hosted the Oscars before an adoring crowd of Hollywood stars who laughed and curried favor with the man who wore
Megyn Kelly summed up what many were already thinking. This lawsuit wasn't about silencing Jimmy Kimmel, it was about sending a message. According to her, Trump doesn't just want to win a legal battle, he wants to remind celebrities that the era of unchecked, smug activism isn't immune from consequences. If you take a shot at the king, you better hit. And Jimmy, she said, missed by a mile like a blindfolded toddler tossing darts. As the intensity of the moment settled, both Joe Rogan and Megyn stood on opposite sides of the media spectrum but found rare agreement. They were both amused and slightly stunned. Two contrasting voices, in sync for once, united in their critique. This wasn't just another political spat, it felt more like a legal roast, and this time, the punchlines weren't so funny for Jimmy. Joe jumped back into the conversation, laughing so hard he looked like he'd just seen someone wipe out, carrying a wedding cake. He joked that the most poetic part of all was that Jimmy finally got what he always wanted, Trump's attention, but instead of a viral joke or a trending clip, it came in the form of a lawsuit, and a dollar amount so huge, it sounded like something a kid made up during a playground dare.
Nobody's going to care anymore. It's like you're seeing it take place with late night television. Nobody gives a fuck about it anymore.
I know.
And it's slowly, you have a bad business model and you're not adapting.
Yeah, the creativity's gone for late night comedy, right? Like, that's not really a thing.
Megyn Kelly summed up what many were already thinking. This lawsuit wasn't about silencing Jimmy Kimmel, it was about sending a message. According to her, Trump doesn't just want to win a legal battle, he wants to remind celebrities that the era of unchecked, smug activism isn't immune from consequences. If you take a shot at the king, you better hit. And Jimmy, she said, missed by a mile like a blindfolded toddler tossing darts. As the intensity of the moment settled, both Joe Rogan and Megyn stood on opposite sides of the media spectrum but found rare agreement. They were both amused and slightly stunned. Two contrasting voices, in sync for once, united in their critique. This wasn't just another political spat, it felt more like a legal roast, and this time, the punchlines weren't so funny for Jimmy. Joe jumped back into the conversation, laughing so hard he looked like he'd just seen someone wipe out, carrying a wedding cake. He joked that the most poetic part of all was that Jimmy finally got what he always wanted, Trump's attention, but instead of a viral joke or a trending clip, it came in the form of a lawsuit, and a dollar amount so huge, it sounded like something a kid made up during a playground dare.
That's him or a writer, can't you tell?
Jimmy Kimmel?
Yeah.
No, it's him, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
good. That's a good one.
He's a comic.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, he used to host The Man Show. I mean, he's done some pretty outrageous shit back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, for hee-hees and haw-haws.
No, that's a good joke on top of a good joke.
Yeah.
We'll tell you, he's not the worst. The Daily Show has the worst ratings. They only have 366,000 people watching that show. During the Jon Stewart years, it was over 2 million. Now it's down to 300,000. Seth Meyers, absolutely dreadful. He doesn't even have 1 million, 778,000. I mean, for network television, this is, you don't have to pay for it. It's there when you turn on your TV, you plug it in. That's a dreadful number. Greg Gutfeld on cable, which you do have to pay for, it has more than double the numbers of Seth Meyers. Jimmy Kimmel, 1.5 million averaging, also equally horrible. And then there's The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, who back when I was there, 2017-18, he was averaging 2.3 million a night. Now he's down to 1.3 million, Jesse. And he cannot afford the "you are toxic" controversy because he's also pulling in reportedly over $15 million a year. So you got all that money for 1.5 million in audience, which is a nothing. I mean, the middle of the day on Fox News gets that. Or at least used to before the Tucker.
Meanwhile, Megyn Kelly didn't hold back. She laughed at the idea of Jimmy Kimmel spending his weekend researching whether certain jokes could actually qualify as defamation. She quipped that the same man who once styled himself as a comedy rebel is now about to find out what real resistance feels like, not in the form of viral hashtags or applause from Hollywood peers, but through serious legal pressure. This wasn't about winning laughs or chasing Emmys anymore. Megyn said Kimmel might try to spin this lawsuit into a new comedy bit, or use it to garner sympathy from his audience. But the truth is unavoidable. He got too comfortable, he assumed. Mocking a political figure was always a one-way street with no real consequences. But now, the script has flipped, and he's the one under pressure. As the situation unfolded, both Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly appeared to agree. Jimmy isn't just a comedian cracking jokes from the safety of a studio anymore. He stepped into a much bigger game, and now he's facing a serious challenge. And that lawsuit, that wasn't just noise. That was the opening roar.